Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Huddle, the Review.com's weekly high school sports show. I'm Executive Editor Rob Toder of the Alliance Review, joined as always by Mike Brown, our sports editor. And Mike, it's hard to believe it's week 8 of the high school football season already. League races are still up in the air, but we got a little bit of clarity last week. Louisville, I think, has a big showdown with Marlington this week, but I think they showed again that they're really the team to beat in the NBC.
They really are. They've been a picture of consistency all year. I mean, even in their loss, they lost a close one to Hoover in week 2, Rob. So like we thought at the beginning of the season, they're on a tier above everybody else, and it's kind of played out that way. Mm-hmm. But having said that, some of the other teams have gotten better, and Marlington is one of those teams that's gotten better through the season.
Yeah, let's talk about that game coming up Friday. Marlington coming off an impressive defensive performance at Salem, winning 31-0. Good all-around performance for the Dukes. And they started out slow, 0-3, and I think a lot of that was transition with a new coaching staff, a new head coach especially, and a young team. But in NBC play, they really played well.
They really are. And when we talk about that, the rest of the tier after Louisville, I would put Marlington right up there at the top of that tier. So they may be the team that can jump up and give the Leopards a pretty good go this year.
Okay, absolutely. And that game should be for the NBC title. Another game in the NBC this week, Alliance and West Branch, a relatively young rivalry, but it's a pretty strong rivalry.
It sure is. And I tell you what, I can't tell you who's going to win that game because of what transpired last weekend. West Branch goes down to Carrollton and knocks off the Warriors at Community Field, and then Alliance is playing at home against a winless Canton South team and loses to the Wildcats. So, everything's kind of up in the air right now, Rob.
Yeah, and I think, as you have talked about all year, and that's just the unpredictability because we're talking about a lot of young teams in the NBC.
Absolutely.
Also in the NBC this week, Minerva's at Canton South. Minerva's also 2-2 in the league. Canton South, of course, as Mike said, had picked up their first win last week. And Carrollton is at Salem. Carrollton's 1-3, 4-3 in the league. And really, I think disappointing for the Carrollton Warriors, the way they started out the season with 3 big wins. So they've been on a little bit of a downslide. They've had some injuries as well, as you know. And Salem 0-4, 2-5 in the league, or 0-4 in the league and 2-5 overall. So let's switch to the ITCL. Another team that took a loss last week that maybe was not expected was the Sebring Trojans, losing at home to Middle Ridge on homecoming. That really puts the Trojans' chances for a playoff spot in jeopardy because their next 2 games are just tough assignments.
They sure are. And you know what? I didn't see that coming last week. I thought they'd take care of Middle Ridge, and they got dumped at home, and now they've got a tough road to hoe because, they've got 2 power teams the next 2 weeks, and then they close the season with a team that's only won 1 game. So from a computer standpoint, they're going to have to upset one of those 2 teams the next 2 weeks and then hope, I think.
Yeah, the Trojans go to Wellsville, who's 5-2.
Yeah.
Always a good athletic football program there at Wellsville, the Tigers are. They're 3-1 in the league, and then, of course, they play Western Reserve, who we've talked about many times. And the Blue Devils got back on a winning trail last week against Leetonia, winning that game 43-21. So tough road ahead for the Trojans, but they have been playing well, and we'll see how they go. They could go down to Wellsville and steal one, and that will put them right back in the playoff hunt. Also, St. Thomas, we talked about this, kind of a surprising outcome for the Knights, losing at home to really a wholly named team that didn't come in with a whole lot of cachet, I guess. But so kind of a surprising loss for the Knights. It kind of puts them in a must-win situation.
It sure is. Now they've got to win some games here down the road just to make the playoffs. And I never saw that one coming, Rob, because Holy Name, even though they play a good schedule, they had a losing record when that game. And Megalyn did play in that game. He's come back from the shoulder injury, and he played in that game. And when that score came in, I just couldn't believe it Friday night. So hopefully the Knights can get back on the winning track this week.
Not tough. They got to go to Cleveland Central Catholic Friday night, and they still got VASJ down the road. So a couple of wins. If they get wins in those games, it's going to really solidify their playoff positioning. But if they lose both of those, it's going to put them in a tough spot.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks, I do believe those teams they're playing are 5-2 right now. So those are good teams that they're playing.
Absolutely. Now, in the Portage Trail Conference, Waterloo in Southeast continue to perform. Waterloo is 2-5, 1-2 in the league. Southeast 2-5 overall, but 2-2 in the league. Waterloo is hosting Woodridge, a tough opponent for the Vikings there, and Southeast goes to Rootstown, also 2-5 in the league. So, looking ahead, what team, if you have to say one team that must win Friday night, what would it be?
Well, I think Southeast has a chance to get a win again. Rootstown, that's a winnable game for Southeast. Waterloo's going to have a tall task there Friday night with Woodridge. Woodridge is a pretty good football team. So.
Okay. All right, well, that's it for this week. Make sure you check out the review all week for previews of these games. Coverage online on thereview.com, and in Saturday's Alliance Review, we'll have video on our website as well. So we invite you to take a look at all those. For Mike Brown, this is Rob Toder. We'll see you at the stadium on Friday night.